Oh, right there. 5:59. Six. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the February 12th meeting of the Granite Falls School Board. Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We're going to start off with the land acknowledgement by Superintendent Eastland.
Thank you. We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their descendants have remained in the territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believed that everything has a spirit and that they are the caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you, Ms. Eastland. Okay, so in attendance tonight, we have Superintendent Dana Eastland, Director Carey, myself, Director Ledoux, and then virtually we have Director Gochner. Can you say hi, Director Gochner?
Hello.
Hey, welcome. Okay, so then we'll go to 2A, which is board comments and reports. So we're gonna do this through, I'll just go ahead and start calling so that we avoid the awkward who goes next. So from my side on WIA, no updates from my side on WIA. And then I will go ahead and kick over to Carl for the ledge report and any comments he may have.
Yeah, I was actually looking for my email update here, and it's all way too quick. I don't necessarily see it, so I can riff. So there's still a number of bills going through committee that all affecting education that haven't been. It's too early to tell if they are going to make it out of committee into votes on the floor. I think last time I checked, there's like 200 and something bills that are going on right now, which is a tremendous amount of bills. So we're keeping an eye on it, and if anything of note comes up, I will certainly share it with everyone.
Great, thank you. Director Gochner, any updates from community report or any comments?
No, I don't have any updates at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to 3A, the middle school student presentation. And I'm also going to say, give them a round of applause.
On the paper, please write something that you struggle with once done. Oh, just what are you struggling with? Once done. Once done, crumble it up and wait for further instructions.
All right, so something we struggle with, crumple it, and then wait. Gotcha.
Just give us silent thumbs up once you're done.
So after this, the little red basket right there in between the things, you guys are gonna throw your guys' papers into that basket.
Okay. Can I get that in here?
If we make it, does that problem go away? Okay, I did, so.
Wait. All right, so the purpose of this game is to see if you have things in common with people who struggle a lot on a daily basis. So during this, we're gonna be opening some of the notes and we're gonna be reading them out loud. And if you relate to them, you can knock twice on your table or on your leg. Or chair. So the first one says, something I struggle with is wanting others to notice me. The next one is, something I struggle with is rude people.
Thing is something I struggle with is public speaking and making new friends.
The next one is, something I struggle with is high anxiety, a healthy diet, and managing stress.
The next one is, something I struggle with is being patient when I want something to change. And the last one is, something I struggle with is getting older. As we can see, a lot of you guys have similar struggles in life.
Thank you for coming to our presentation.
Thank you very much. It is very apparent we all go through the same stuff. And it's actually good to talk that out and to understand that so that you know you're not alone, right? That's very, very good and very, very impactful. Okay, so we're gonna go to 3B here, which is the middle school SIP report and progress presented by Michael Maynard and Candace Ward. Give it a hand for that tiger suit.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right, I don't need the microphone, huh? All right. I want Ms. McLaughlin and Ms. Mace to stand up. These are two teachers that exercise is an SEL lesson. You get it in a web class, but it's also, these are SEL teachers. So, the SEL is social emotional learning. So I want to say that these teachers are part of the curriculum that we push to produce in our school every day. Maybe the seventh grade, but it's also the eighth grade, you guys have to now. But I just want to say thank you because these teachers actually do these lessons. These students, they've been doing SEL for the past 2 years since I've been here. I know they did it when Mr. B was here. I want to say that they're web leaders, but they're also leadership. So they are an integral part of our school. Those students, it took them a while to get in front of us like this, but they presented to me at the beginning of the year in class, and I wanted that class to participate in this because I can see them in 4 months. They're going to be leaving me and being with Mr. D, but I'll miss them. I just asked the parents what they're going to do, and they're like, I don't know, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, because all these students who you see tonight were our integral part of our school community. They have a strong voice. They tell me when I'm wrong. They also tell me when they need to see change, and that's what the school community is all about. So I want you to give it up to these students. All right, so that's the exercise you did was pop the bubble. And this is some of the activities that web and leadership do, because some of these students are web and leadership. So they participated in the sixth grade orientation day. They did scheduled pickup day. All these things are outside of the school hours as well. So they dedicate their own time to doing these things. Paul Pride, World Kindness Week, National School Psychology Week, they do something for all these weeks, all these celebrations we have for our staff, our students. We do Thankful Thursdays, they write cards. Also Unity Day, the National Compliment Day. Sometimes I need a National Compliment Day every day, but you know, on that particular day, they actually do those things, and they do it outside just of their friends and the school community. And door wars, you can walk in our office now. We're doing some Valentine's Day door wars, so these students are all a part of that. I want to say good evening. Thank you for coming to Granite Falls Middle School. This is our school profile. If you read this before this meeting, this is right on point. We actually worked very hard this past year, making sure our numbers are correlated correctly. So that means when we had last year, Ms. Portman really worked to make sure those numbers are by fidelity with what was reported at OSPI and also Schuyler. So I'll get into it. I'll start at this slide. This slide is our school report card data from last year, and how we judged is math, ELA, and science on the OSPI report card. And if you could look from left to right, black, orange, gray, and light orange, that was the last 4 years. The light orange is our projected year, 2025. And in science, you don't have anything, you don't have those numbers, because science is picked up in grade 5, and it's picked up again in grade 8. So you don't have those projection numbers for science as like you do in math. I'll start with last year, we actually gained in math almost 8%, from 15% to 23%. Also, we in ELA gave a 5% gain, 6% gain, from 27% to 33%. Our projection numbers are 43%. So I would say these numbers are coming directly from our SBAC school end of the year state test. If you look at iReady, if you think of iReady, iReady is a tool that we use to get ready and prepared for the state test. And it's last year, if you remember this presentation, iReady numbers were a part of our school improvement plan goals. This year, they're not. They're part of they're an activity. It's not a goal. The goal is the Super Bowl, how I think of it. even though we're trying to get the best out of them when it's time to sit down and take the state test. So I really think the trail or the drive to the state. So at the beginning of the year, we kind of started off when we kind of had to wait on the I-rating to kind of do the thing, and we had to do the thing before we put the I-rating all data. And if you look, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 is at the top of it, and I would start from the right to the left. See in the right corner where it says 42, that means students were 3 or more grade levels below. And you see the 6 level. That was our math data. This is all September. It's taken in September. So we just recently taken one in last month. Then coming out of our last day, we're gonna go close. So look at the top. That means above grade level, mid to above grade level. That also means early on grade level. And yellow means 1 grade level below, red means 2, shaded red area means 3 or more. All right. This data this is projected growth reading data. So from this slide, this is a projection of what is going to be like. I want to show you the next data cycle, what we did, and these kids definitely stepped up for it. So here is the winter data. Winter data, if you look at 31%, every category we know 10%. So I want to say you guys did a great job. Did a great job going into this time. I think it's because of the incentive. We had a big incentive this year. We had a big raffle coming up. 27 for our first academic assembly we're going to have for raffle and honor roll first attendance of this year. So then all welcome to celebrate 27 at 9 a.m. for our school-wide academic. This is the math data. Math, we also moved up 5 to 10%. So if you look at the benchmark when we fall down in the if you look at our benchmark and all the 6, 7, 8, and 9. We expanded from the first to second. And benchmark 1 and 2, this is what we pay attention to. All that, we have more kids in the yellow now, we have less kids in the red, in the shaded red area. That is very good. ELA, same way. ELA is many jump in that green and yellow area. More kids in the green and yellow now than what it is. So that shows us that our students are coming to school, that they're not going to be so. How did that all come together in our school year? Last year we had 4 goals. This year we got 3. The first goal was about I feel and have like that. Remember, that's when you got to play online football. If somebody wants to get that ball in, this is the guy that is. So what guy is getting into my goal is to do this? Maybe you want to talk about maybe you want to do so that I will get the 40% of that goal is that it's only over my goal is to that is the goal that we can get. The state is around 37 to 40% now. You want to get around 39. What is how do we use the data to get the same? How do we do that? So, some of the things that are coming out are small resolutions, or some of the things that are coming out after school notes, some of the things that are coming out is teachers bringing forward all good students and what they do, standard things. I'm going to say, I think also got the GFSD pilot program. I want to make sure that you know that our teachers are using that to be in that program right now. How well these families can do. And the last thing I want to say is family and community engagement. If students like to come to school, you know, if I Average right now is about 89%. That means, out of 440 students coming to school, I'll say 400, around 470. To increase our family community engagement, attendance is a big key.
So we just realized that attendance, having kids in seats is the first step to getting here. So we are really focusing with our secretary and having meetings. We're finding some ways to get students to school with different encouragements, looking at adjusting schedules, getting them in with teachers, because we know that adult student connection can pull them here. So we've been really selective with looking at that first period teacher, because if they're excited to come to first period, we know we can keep them for the rest of the day. So we've been really mindfully looking at that to increase our attendance. And then the community engagement, that has been a big thing that I've been talking with Mr. Maynard and really wanting to look at some of the all school bringing families and so assemblies to honor students, assemblies to honor some of the great things we're doing. And so that'll be our assembly that we're having on the 27th, which I'm really excited about, just to really showcase what our students are doing well. And so, looking at all the great things we're doing, because I feel that if students feel empowered and proud of what they're doing, we'll see those scores keep going up, we'll see more engagement. So we do have quite a few things in the works to get these scores up, and we are, but first and foremost is that adult-student relationship. That's why we have them start with an SEL thing, because we do believe that if those teachers have that relationship with them, those kids will want to come to school and they'll want to strive for better.
I also want to say, our teachers, we have, we are really focused on helping the overall community. Our regular team, we are really looking for the community to be morning and to be early morning. And our regular team is our sisters, seventh grade is Matt Necco, and eighth grade is Lawson. But our team really get together and we really care about all our students, care about all our students. And that's one thing I think I've never said no one time.
I do. Yeah, great presentation, Mr. Mayor. Love the suit, by the way, yet again. Hotness. I was just wondering, obviously, we have a lot of, students, parents, teachers. I was wondering if you could just, even stepping away from, the iReady data, because it's tough to be able to understand iReady data and all of that. If you could just give me just a couple of 2, 3 feelings about how your key takeaways from what you just presented, in a way of, personifying where you feel the middle school is, where it's going, the results and stuff like that. Just a couple of 2, 3 things, if you don't mind. The things you want us to receive when we look at that.
We are in what you call Washington School Improvement. And we're a school that has been struggling academically on the state test. Not as far as we haven't been representing ourselves well when the state test comes. I would say that falls on the improvement framework. My goal is that we're in the second cycle of this framework because it kind of got pushed back from COVID. My goal is to be off the framework. It's possible because it is written on so I know it's possible. A lot of people watching the world. You have to look at already, like it's the thing of, and it's not depend on you. Everybody knows that things to work already. I think it's really cool. If you use it already, if you don't put it down like this, something new for the lesson that we need to do. So I would say that once you change the mindset of our name to get back and we focus on that, that's my whole goal. That's where I'm going. Somebody told me that I think I'm still back in this and I'm still in the thing that we all know. I'm still opening up. I really do think that people in our school who come in every day, they show that they want to be here and they want to be with us. So we do have a lot to work on, but I know what to be done. Do I have to do something?
Yeah. Good feedback.
Well, yeah, and this is not me just trying to sit up here and pontificate. But when I see, all right, we see a lot of these statistics and everything, and it reminds me, different context from the school setting, but maybe people are familiar with the quote of, right, 1 million people is a statistic, 1 person is a tragedy, right? And it's really easy when we see all this stuff to put it into statistics. Right, we all go to the Washington State School Directors conference and everything every year. And I remember what really stuck out to me the first year there was we're talking about state averages. And anytime something creeped over 50%, there was a roar of applause. I sat there and said, why are we applauding this? right? It's better than 50%, true enough. But there are individuals behind that 44% that are not where they need to be. And in particular within Granite Falls, right? So we have, I always love when we're talking about community engagement because, Brett, me speaking as a parent as well, too, of a student, like the expectation of school is, yes, there should be learning and education there, but it's not throw the kid over the fence and hope they come back with everything that they need, right? It also comes from the home. So when I see like the goals are to get 50%, like ideally we have 200 plus families in the game because their kids are 2, 3, 4 grade levels behind. And so the community engagement, I would like to, I guess on a challenge, not just from middle school, but from the high school, from Dana's perspective as well, is, you know, getting creative on how can we engage the community? How can we help them understand that, you know, it's the whole Jerry Maguire, right? Help me, help you, right? Like, let's work together because there are 200 plus families right now that are like, I don't get what's going on. Like, how is my kid this far behind, right? What can we do? I don't know. I'm going to throw my hands up. So however we can get creative. The thing within there is it's scary, but the ability to fail fast, right? We have these plans and these goals and these strategies to put into place. But what we need is a mechanism, and it's very different from a plan, right? Because a mechanism you can try, and then the mechanism itself, if this doesn't work, what can we pull out and put back in and try again and fail fast and say, you know, because it's the whole Thomas Edison thing, right? Like I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found out 10,000 ways not to build a light, right? And so he learned not to go try those things. And we need to start going through this, and I'm just saying this because it's at the middle school right now. It's not just at the middle school, it's across the entire district. We need to find ways to fail fast. And I want to encourage just the educators in the room too, and Dana and all the admin staff too, is just because it is the way that it has been done does not mean it's the way it has to be done, you know, going forward. Because it really does, like, as we see those numbers creep and we can look at those statistics, it's a good thing that we're seeing, you know, a 10% improvement here and, you know, 15% improvement there. I'm always going to be that person too, that even if we're well above state standards, I'm going to be wondering why we can't tackle that final 20% of students, right? What's different there? What's falling on deaf ears? Something that we can do with the household and help engage them more, as you know. And so I'm saying this just in terms of like as a challenge of like how can the board also support within like community engagement stuff. You know, I've raised my hand in the past to, you know, you can just get like fun events and stuff. Now granted that doesn't help with education, but if you have any creative ways or ask of the board to be like, hey, if you have contacts here, if you could reach out to this people, I feel like this would really help us as a district overall. I'm happy to try. Now, granted, I may fail at that too, but I at least want to, you know what you guys are thinking and where we can also step in further and help engage group. So.
I want to definitely get a feedback. You're talking about the book.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We're always talking about, that's how the Minecraft coding class started, that's how the intro to STEAM started. We had a meeting today about, how can we enhance our classes for kids that love to come to school.
Yeah.
These kids don't want to come to school to work.
Yeah.
They like to study. They want to do it.
Yeah.
It's not about what you do that spot.
Yeah.
And I really think we started, if any kid coming to school after 8:30, we call the parent. We don't care if they're coming off the street, if they come, we call the parent. Just say, hey, your kid made it to school safe. So a lot of times, parents don't know they even was late. Or sometimes parents just try to drop off. No, but now they come in and because we need to see adults with that student. So, the strategies that we can, I thought that we can do, of course, academically and definitely, we can, all these always.
Fair enough.
I have one more thing, so, and not to put you on highlights again, although I know you well highlight. From a superintendent's perspective, from this information.
Yeah, so I have some notes here too. I think I'm also thinking about the recent NAEP scores that came out, how our students are doing across the nation, and why we haven't seen the rebound we thought we would see. Granite Falls is no different than, and a small increase for fourth grade math across the nation. Emily and I talked about this. I think the two things that the superintendent is concerned about attendance. So I love the 88, 89%. Kids are in front of us. We know that the instruction and the engagement and all of those things. So I'm concerned about attendance. I'm concerned about screen time. Our kids are pretty plugged in, both at school sometimes and then also away from school. So we got to find that balance, within school day for our students. In my last system, we had a little internet issue, and it was little, but it lasted for a month. And so all of a sudden, our kids were doing a lot. Our kids were exhausted because they were doing all of this really interactive stuff instead of watching screens. So I think that we got to figure out a balance between useful technology, instructional technology, and a lot of still face-to-face relationship building and communication. Because those are the things that help me feel like I'm a part of it. In fact, the kids sitting in front of us, they feel a part of the school. They are engaged. They like each other. They're going to tell Mr. Meehan when something's not going wrong. But we have a lot of students who don't feel that comfort level yet. And so relationships first, access to high quality instruction after that. So getting the right materials and go back to attendance. We have to have them here, and then really high quality instruction in front of us. So they can our kids are no different in Granite Falls. We have fantastic kids who are eager to learn. It's really about them. Mentioned, but the one, right? It's one who doesn't need to a student. So what are we going to do?
But that's all I've got. I really appreciate the presentation.
Well, thank you very much. You guys can hang out if you wish, or you can bounce out if you'd like to, but appreciate it. Okay, great. We're going to move on to 3C, which is the superintendent report presented by Dana Giesland.
Yeah, actually, point of privilege, can we, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Director Kincaid and Director Dane.
Yes. Motion's been made. Thank you, Mr. Maynard. Okay, so the motion's been made to excuse Director Kincaid and Director Dane. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so now moving on to the superintendent report presented by Dana Geesling.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. We have a few things happening. So really quickly, you can go to the next slide. Sorry, there we go. Just the communications, we continue to work on getting good comms out, and we encourage anyone who has something exciting happening at their school level to get it to us so we can get it out in family news, or we can get it out on social media. We've had some really exciting wins, and both from winning a welding competition and hearing about that as I was walking through the high school one day, and Mr. Knightley introduced me to the captain of that team. So there's lots of good things happening in our system, and celebrate those. We put those out, like I said, through social media, on our website, sometimes in staff news, often in family. So we just keep updating. We encourage everyone to download the Granite Falls School District app, because then things pop, if you turn those alerts on, pop right up on your phone. We just started talking about today a little bit about spring review of all building emergency plans and going through those fine-tooth comb with our building leaders. The rave emergency notification system, we talked about that before. I've been working with Marshall and Dan Scholar to get that out to staff, and then train the staff that want to be trained on that. All administrators will be trained and have that on. Tiger cabinet update. I haven't talked about Tiger cabinet a little bit. We had a Tiger cabinet member here, but she just exited. We had a meeting in January, and it was exciting because it's the first time our Tiger cabinet members have met in school level teams. We've always been multi-aged. So they met in school level teams with their principals guiding discussions. And Granite Falls High School, because there's such a big contingency, divided into 4 groups, and Stacy's amazing so for guiding 2 of those groups and facilitating that. Our students brainstormed an issue that they wanted to address at their school, and then the high school students talked to each other, and so they wouldn't have the same issues. We did a magic wand activity that started out, and everyone kind of, if you could tap a magic wand in your school, what would you change? And that started the conversation. Our kids are incredibly insightful and quite frankly brilliant. And the things that they discussed are up in the boardroom. We've been in the boardroom for a little while. Chris and I were talking about that today. But I encourage anyone to stop by our boardroom and see the really thoughtful things that our kids are working on at each of our buildings. Crossroads High School has already put some of theirs into play. Theirs was about engaging new students in orientation, students leading that, which is critical because our students want to be with students, not necessarily with our adults right away. So Crossroads is already going great guns on that. Action steps were made, and we'll continue to work on this activity. Upcoming meetings, March 13th, we're having some other things at that meeting, but I would like to invite the school board in. However many of you we have, we can either call it a meeting or there's 2 or less. There won't be a forum and go from there. But you are invited 9 to 10:15 at the Granite Falls High School Library, as well as for our students to have a chance to interact. April 17th, ongoing work. We're going to be doing some videos and some other things. And then on May 29th, you have some special guests that will be attending. Representative Sam Lowe and Carolyn Eslick, and then Senator Wagner have committed to being there. So all the LES group from the 39th district, which is exciting. The students expressed interest at our January 23rd meeting and speaking with some state level politicians. Right. On that, I had the pleasure of meeting with our with Representatives Eslick, Lowe, and Senator Wagner last Thursday night. Thank you to the city of Granite Falls, who has really just partnered with us and included us, both with their lobbyists, which they paid for, and then like things like this, and went down with our city manager and our mayor, and we met with these that over here. The update, similar to Director Carey, what you were talking about. There's some key takeaways from the current session. Things are busy. This is the busiest session they've seen in many years. And we expressed our priorities for educational funding and some shifts and things that are impacting our schools. We'd like to continue to collaborate with them Representative Eslick wants to meet with me about some things for elementary, some initiatives she have going on. And then if there's testimony needed on the education front, kind of bridge across that aisle a little bit. I want to say a special thank you to Representative Lowe. He signed on and is a supporter, the legislative supporter for our school-based health center. And we talked about that at our last meeting, but just getting some health care right here in Grand Falls at Grand Falls High School. We can work on that. His sponsorship of that appropriation is really significant. Our focus is the big three. Special education, there's good energy around that, and we think we'll get some funding. Marshall and I will believe it when we see it, but if that funding does come in, that would prove to be very beneficial for Grand Falls. Transportation, that one is probably of the big three is the one that we're not seeing a lot of energy around. And then lastly, the MPOC, we know Marshall. Monday, I attended a OSPI statewide superintendent meeting. When I say I attended, that would be Susan. And Superintendent Reichdahl gave us just some updates. OSPI continues to get us information as quickly as they can when we have a lot of action happening right now at the federal level. And so just kind of reading through that and trying to figure out what is most impactful to us, what do we need to do right away. The immigration guidance, I know we sent out some information to staff and to families a couple of weeks ago. We are literally just following state law and the guidance from OSPI on that. And Title IX changes, there's several of them in the board agenda tonight. There's some amendments because we are reverting back to the Title IX directive from the 2020 Title IX changes. We updated those policies back in August. So those are all on the board agenda. And additionally, there are some policies that will be retired tonight. And that's again going back to 2020. Another thing we discussed at this meeting was the Parents' Bill of Rights. That is the new legislation. Right now, there's amendments, many amendments being discussed. This is one of the things that all the legislators that we met with last week talked about. It's kind of back and forth, so we'll see where that plays out. Right now, we do have sent that out to our staff, but it's about last thing, and I'm sure it's a little bit on everybody's mind. We had 3 snow days last week. Thank you to our snow patrol team. We have many people who get up very early, love talking to each other at 4:30 a.m. The one thing I do know to be true is that we will have to make up at least 3 days prior to a waiver application of any sort. OSPI will not grant any waiver unless you have made up at least 3 days. Some people put them in the school year, some people put them at the end of the school year. So we will make up at least 3. After that, we can apply for some waivers and think about that. We want to be conscientious of instructional minutes. We have our kids. Granite Falls has a waiver already of 5 days, so our students only go to school 175 days. We want to make sure that all right, teaching and learning. I'll let Emily give you a quick update on where we are.
Good evening. Hearing the conversation around the data, I want to be clear that we're celebrating some growth here. What I have posted for you is a 12% increase for students early on at or above in reading, and a decrease for students who are 2 or more grade levels behind. So you can see that data set up there. We are pacing last year's growth from fall to winter in ELA. We are slightly outpacing a little bit more in iReady Math. And we are making growth for our 10th graders. The reason why 10th graders are up there because we're really thinking about that correlation between their assessment results and that predictability of their performance on the SBAC. Heard Director Ledoux and Director Carey about, yes, we celebrate this growth, but we also have an obligation to the students that are on the opposite side of this percentage. So just want to make sure that you understand that all of our students, we want to celebrate the kiddos that are really thriving, and we really want to focus on the kiddos who really need those extra supports. In terms of school funding, we are targeting to have our report completions and our data collection in to OSPI so that we are on track for 25-26 funding. This year, we were a little bit lagged on that, but our goal is to have that complete by July 1st so that any funding that is allocated to the Granite Falls School District is ready to go in August. For teaching and learning, we are spending a lot of time being very highly meticulous about our spending in teaching and learning. We are still, for us on our budget, we are still in the black. Last meeting we had, I reported to you that we had had no financial or fiscal surprises. We've had a couple in the last few weeks. However, once we get through a full cycle of school year, my hope is that there won't be any other surprise that are unpredictable. We are starting to build a summer credit retrieval program, similar to what we did last year to support Granite Falls High School students and Crossroads High School and Granite Falls Open Door students to help them be certain that we get their credits, the credits that they work on. It has been a pleasure since really kind of mid-November to be supporting Mountain Way Elementary School. There is a team of administrators who have been gracious and supportive, including the administrators in the room. I want to send a special thank you to Principal John Nisley, Rachel Quarterman, Michael Maynard, Candace Ward, Bridget McVeigh, and all the people that have come around Mountain Way to help support those wonderful teachers and the staff there. It has afforded me, because I am evaluating all of the staff at Mountain Way now, a really cool view into the classroom to see some of our new curriculum and how it operates with kids. So I wanted to make sure to highlight that our newly piloted and adopted CPLA Amplify ELA curriculum is so rich. It has pictures, it has tiered vocabulary, words like constructing and words like pyramid. Ooh, computer just went blank. We'll go there. And I watched Emily Williams deliver a wonderful lesson, which was informational text about the Mayan people interspersed with story and engaging characters. So while it has been a body of work to support Mountain Way during this transition, it has been very, very informative. Just met with our ELA curriculum pilot team today. We are on track for a recommendation to the school board with our final decision right around early June. So that is my report. Any questions?
No,
No.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I mean, I have one other superintendent. Yeah, I can.
Lastly, upcoming district and community events. Granite Falls High School wrestling. Oh, so fun to be there on Saturday. And I don't even have a child wrestling, but Rachel does. 8 athletes to state, super exciting. That's February 21st and 22nd at the Tacoma Dome. It is a big deal to go to state. It is a big deal to make it to the Dome, so we're super excited about that. Granite Falls High School has basketball playoffs coming up this week. Granite Falls Middle School is well into their sports seasons with some wrestling and some girls basketball, so please come out and support our athletes who are working hard. And then lastly, upcoming other things, with winter break, February winter break is this weekend and a couple of days next week. Empty Bowls is rescheduled because it's crazy snow and things last week, so it's rescheduled to March 15th. Visit the Community Coalition website for details. And then Battle of the Classes is coming up. That is such an incredible event. I was able to head to that last year and had to judge and was asked to sing the national anthem, which I politely declined. And I will slightly decline again this year. But we have volleyball, the flag football, the hall decorating, and then the main event is March 1st. If you can make it, please come out for that. It's fantastic. And then also, there is a 5th grade recorder concert on February 20th. And there is nothing better than a lot of 5th graders playing their hearts out on a recorder. So if you can attend, that would be great.
A couple of things. So, first I wanted to thank you, Dana. I remember when we were your first meeting and we were talking about the board, and I would say, Dana, I really appreciate it in your report. We talked about safety, so we make sure we're always keeping an eye on keeping our students safe, and I love how you're consistent about that. So I thank you so much. Secondly, with all of the weather that we've had lately with the snow and all of that stuff, this was pre-COVID, so it feels like a million years ago. But we had a snowpocalypse once that even my house, I was out of power for I think 2 weeks. Right, I'm on wells, so no water or anything like that. One of the great things I think we did as a community is we opened warm water showers over at the middle school. I remember I and the LDS church, and we had a rotation and stuff like that. And I know that the high school is also like an emergency evacuation pod and stuff like that. So I just in communication, or even if it was something that you were open to, if we can just kind of put that out, just in the fact, obviously, if we have that type of thing, it's too late to try to put that out. Communication would be tough, but if we can let the community know that, if we're out of power for 2 or 3 days or something, we'll automatically start to do that. And I would be happy to take the lead on trying to coordinate volunteers if we need, we have volunteers to help make sure people have the things that they need at the middle school and stuff like that. So,
That's a great idea. In fact, we talked about that a little bit in October when we had the power outage. Granite Falls oddly was back up with power, much ahead of many of our surrounding communities. But Marshall and I had that conversation. I think like, hey, just so you know, and that would be like after a day or two. That's the next step because it belongs to our community. I'll take you up on getting recorded.
happy to
You
do
make
it.
sure we get that.
I'm not going to put another thing on your plate. Your plate is full. For sure. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Anything?
No, I don't have anything. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cool. Okay.
Can I make a motion real quick? Later on under new business, I make a motion that we remove item 5B from the agenda. So 5B, the first reading of the new policy 5400 personal.
Okay, there has been a motion made to remove the first reading to amend policy 5400 personal leaves. Is there a second?
Second.
Fair enough. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moving on to 3D business report prepared by Marshall Cruz.
I guess I'd just like to call it a couple of highlights. We're seeing something unique this year, and I put a couple of slides in there about that, where usually we have increasing enrollment throughout the year, and our lowest count is beginning, and it kind of peaks in April, and it was off a little bit the last 2 months. This year, we peaked in November, and we've been kind of steadily declining since then. And so I included a couple of slides in there that just kind of show what's going on with our enrollment. And it's been since before COVID that this kind of happened. We usually see a steadily increase, and so what happens when we're decreasing is our average enrollment for the year decreases every month, and our revenue decreases. So it makes forecasting the end of the year results a little difficult when you're having declining enrollment, because every 10 students that you lose, it's $110,000 in revenue. And while our costs for teachers are fixed based on how we start the year, our revenue can go up or down based on any fluctuations in enrollment. So, and we usually see an upward fluctuation, but now this year we're seeing it downward, and we're down, I think, 20 plus kids with our peak in November.
So what stopgaps or what are we doing to make sure that we don't get into a situation where we're on a fund balance?
Well, one, we put a spending freeze in place. We're looking at all hires before we do. We drastically slowed down the spending. We're only spending stuff that we absolutely have to spend to keep kids progressing through school. Any kind of things we can avoid spending, we're avoid spending. We've also been the other fluctuation that's kind of unreported. We're spending this year $3 million more in special ed than we're receiving from the state for funding, which means that we have capacity for $3 million in safety net. For the first time, we're requesting $550,000 in transportation safety net, but we could receive anywhere from $0 to $550,000 because the whole state has allocated $13 million for transportation safety net, and if Granite Falls is asking for $500,000, how much of that are we really going to get? Even though we've shown that we qualify for all these expenses, there's only a bucket of $13 million that we get transportation safety net. We're also asking for, I have a projection of safety net there of 1.1. It's actually up to almost 1.5 million now. And then there'll be community impact on top of that, which is 350,000. So, but the problem is that, you go through a committee, they approve it. Safety net and community impact are usually pretty solid. The unknown is that transportation safety net. The other piece of unknown is that, we budgeted $1.6 million for transportation revenue. That number could be anywhere between 1.6 million and 2.4 million. So we won't know that number for a couple more months. And that's one of the things that the legislative session is trying to fix, is give us some visibility into what our transportation revenue is when we're doing the budget, rather than 3 months before the year end. We get visibility to what our current year's revenue is. They'll adjust our revenue from 1.6 million up to maybe 2.4 million in March or April. And that's hard to budget for and hard to run a ship when you really don't know your revenue. All those streams of revenue, that variation is up to like $2 million in variation that we could get, which is what we are likely to get, which what we might not get.
Taking an app is how much more?
SafetyNet app is probably going to be about $200,000 more than the SafetyNet app last year. And we did not qualify for transportation SafetyNet this year, but we actually partnered with a lot of other districts and looking at how that works. And we're asking for $550,000 in transportation SafetyNet. So that would be $550,000 more than last year. But again, there's a statewide bucket of $13 million for that. And yeah.
When are we going to do a budget revision?
I don't think we'll probably do a capital project budget revision, but our spending is going to be okay. It's our revenue that is probably going to be the question mark. If we get all the revenue that we could get, we'll be in great shape. If we got the transportation safety net, that would almost like a surprise revenue. We weren't budgeting any of that, because we never have gotten it before. And we're going to get something for that. How much? We don't know. I guess the second thing I would like to I follow the legislative session very, very closely, and every Friday, WASA has their This Week Olympia, and they were very good at listing out how the formulas are being proposed in the bill. Both special ed bills are fairly close in how their formulas work, and each of those two special ed bills, if they were approved as they stand right now, would be about $2.5 million in additional revenue in Granite Falls, because it changes the multipliers and the cap both of them do. And they would also have safety net be distributed quarterly rather than being a year, which would help us as well. The MSOX one would be about $400,000 additionally for Granite Falls. So, if we could focus on two things at the legislative session, would be those two bills. And I've signed in and did my little yes vote for those things. And if we have the opportunity to say yes to those things online, it's really easy to do. So we should all try and get in there and say yes. Because they've been having outstanding participation from school districts, community members. When WASA does their report, it's like 10 times the number of people that usually comment on these things.
So, and this is more for you, Dana, and I know this to be true, but I just saying it and wanted to hear it just make me feel better. So when we're looking at these spending freezes and stuff like that, hopefully, and I know that we are prioritizing to do that as far away from the learning environment as possible, right? So to keep the learning environment and what we're doing whole, and as we're looking at numbers and stuff like that, it's a tough ask to say, hey, don't spend anything, and oh, by the way, I need to review these schools, and stuff. So how are you how are you looking at that?
Well, some things we do need to check. So there are some categoricals and things, but the money is intended to some.
Second, but I think this year, thanks to Dana, Rachel, and Emily, we have more direct student support than we have ever had in the 8 years that I've been here. You know, we have math interventionists at both, or math specialists at both schools. We have a dedicated reading interventionist here at the middle school. We have EL teachers at secondary and elementary, instead of one. We have our title and lab money getting spent directly towards kids, not having posters or anything to help support the directors, but that money was redirected directly to kids. So there are far more direct academic support for kids than there ever have been since I've been here. Yeah.
Curious, so the 4.7%, would you consider that a likely forecast? So like your best guess, that is where we're going.
My best guess is that it's likely. It could, if our enrollment fees decline, there could be some risk.
So, well, the reason why I ask is because I'm curious, like, what you're seeing as a potential delta. And if you don't know this, that's fine. We can always cover it during the next board meeting. But so, again, the likely best case, worst case, and having something within there that shows like, okay, so 4.7 is like, that's my forecast. That's what if you held me over the water right now and told me where we're going to end the year, that's what I'm expecting the likely to be. Best case would be if I'm assuming like these transportation stuff isn't included within this forecast yet. Right. So like there's an upside, right? So best case is that 5.2%, 5.2%, 4.8%, right? If everything comes in, like what is best case? And then what is worst case, right? Assuming that there's increased spending in X, Y, Z that's unforeseen, but can still be at least projected. And the reason why I say that is because as a board member, then I could sit there and we can evaluate the associated risks with the downside versus the upside.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to understand, like, again, trying to forecast as best as we can so that we as a board can help. It will help us make decisions earlier on, so we're not 3 months down the line. And if we would have made a change earlier on because we're like, I understand that this is a risk, this isn't that much of a risk, so we're okay, that's an acceptable risk versus like, I foresee this potentially really hitting us. So therefore, we really need to index and we really need to push harder on that upside, right? Like, what are they grants? Are they, different funding mechanisms that we can go after? Like, we need to, then the board can give more of a directive on like, we need, aggressively go after these because if this hits, we're now all of a sudden going to be a building. So like, that would be really useful to understand, just so we're not playing defense all the time. We can be more proactive.
I have a great, the way you just explained that, I have an idea of how to display that, and I'll put it in my next one.
Okay.
I have a great, I think I have a good idea of how to clearly show the risk.
Okay.
One last piece, and Jen Harmon and I talked about this today, looking at specifically staffing for next year, holding on hiring some of the people, some of the knows that we can be holding them there. So we can see what. Especially if have become really helpful.
And that would all be very useful in the downside aspect. Like these are the factors that can draw our fund balance down. These are the factors that can improve our fund balance in a way. Yeah. Cool.
Generally, I feel more confident about the expenditures and our ability to forecast those this year, and less confident about the revenue, just because hard to say how much more enrollment decline will be, hard to say what safety net will give us, hard to say what transportation will give us, but I think I have a great way to display that, and I'll make my march.
Yeah. Well, in showing the delta also, if it's like, if our downside from 4.7 is 4.2 and our upside is only 4.8, like it shows us that we have far more risk than upside. And so we really need to be on our toes when it comes to that. So
yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool. Okay, next 4A, items from the floor. So I believe we have this card. Okay, so bear with me as I read through, just so we're all on an even playing field. Okay, so the public comment section of the agenda is an opportunity for people to address the school board. Since this is a business meeting of the Granite Falls School District Board of Directors, the purpose of public comments is for those interested to communicate with the Board of Directors about items on the agenda or specific work within the scope of the school district. This is not a time for the audience to address each other. People may submit public comments for school board meeting either by reading their comments aloud in person or by submitting their comments in writing. The board reads all written comments, which are later attached to the meeting agenda and available to the public on the board docs website. If you are presenting your comment in person, 1, please begin by stating your name, your city of residence, your relationship to the district, and the agenda item or school district topic you are addressing. 2, we request that if your comment consists fully or partially of text verbatim from an article, an online post, an excerpt from a book, etc., you simply send us a link to the text and spend your comment time telling us how this information relates directly to district work. 3, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If a comment becomes too lengthy, I may need to interrupt. 4, please make your statement in a civil manner without disparaging, name calling, or otherwise targeting any one person or group in the district. Similarly, we ask everyone in the audience to show respect by listening quietly without talking or whispering to each other so that everyone can hear each comment. 5, the board does not typically act upon items brought forward during this portion of the meeting at this time, but may be followed up by the board, the superintendent, and or staff at a later time. And finally, 6, the board also accepts comments and questions at any time through email. We read each email we receive, and we also appreciate the time and effort it takes for those who write them. So with that being said, Ms. Clark, I will go ahead and start a timer on my side. Oh, Paris has it? Okay. Paris will start at that. Okay. And then Paris, you can let us know when you're good to go.
I'm Robin Barth. I teach at Crossroads. I've taught at the middle school. I've taught at Mountain Way. I taught for a year, 40 minutes twice a week at Monte Cristo, and I've coached for many years at the high school. This is my 25th year in the community of Granite Falls. I love this place. Big things happen in the world, and big things happen in our nation. And I think sometimes it's easy to disconnect and forget that those big things happen to little places like ours. Yesterday, looking at what was coming up tonight, was a gut check. You guys are about to do something really fun. And I just wanted to thank you for serving. I don't think the hard things are going to stop. think it's gonna keep getting hard. The people I work with, my friends in the district, the children I love on every day, the children you love on every day are gonna be impacted by what comes down the pipe. And it's just so easy to forget the impact right here. So I just thank you for serving. Even when it's hard.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so we will move to section 5, new business. And first we will go to 5A, the first reading to adopt policy 2029, animals as part of the instructional program. I'm curious, WASA policy?
It is. It's a WASA policy that's been around for a very long time. We did not have it as and we need to have it because it guides how and when and where we interact with animals on school grounds, especially during the school day.
Got it. So I was thinking like dogs and stuff, but like horses.
Anything.
Any animal. Gotcha. Okay. Is there any discussion for policy 2029?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading to adopt policy 2029, animals as part of the instructional program.
I will second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Okay. 5B has been stricken. We'll move to 5C, first reading to amend policy 3205, 3205P, sexual harassment of students. Discussion.
Yeah, I got a couple of things I want to say. I've been on the board, this is I think my 11th, maybe my 12th year. And in that time, we've made some really tough, let's call it politically hot-button decisions. And I've made a point to never dive into the, pontificating or, spewing my political sides and stuff like that. And I'm not going to break that now, but I guess I feel responsible to state that that these changes are a recommendation from our legal team in WASDA, based upon kind of the directive and changes at the federal level. And they're tough. There are some tough changes here. But I guess I always have felt and do feel that democracy only works if you support things, if you still support it when there's potentially something or someone you didn't vote for or something you wouldn't necessarily agree in. We have to be a democracy in all. And I don't feel that any political movement by me at this level is going to positively impact, is going to be positive for our students, because at the end of the day, my power and my authority is only within this building, right? I can't impact what we do at the state level. I can't necessarily impact other than with my voice, which trust me, I use often at the federal level. So I guess I just wanted to make it clear that these are changes that otherwise I wouldn't necessarily support. However, I have a responsibility as a leader in this district to follow the directive of, of what's been down from the higher levels of authority. And so when I vote on these and I don't have comment, it's not that there isn't a deep feeling of sadness. I guess that's the best way.
Appreciate that. Okay, any other discussion? Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading to amend policy 3205, 3205P, sexual harassment of students.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 5D, first reading to amend policy 3211P, gender inclusive schools. Any discussion? Go by saying I would,
I make a motion to accept the first read and then policy 3211, gender inclusive.
motion's been made. I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 To 5E, first reading to amend policy 5011P, sexual harassment of district staff prohibited. Discussion?
I make a motion to approve the first reading and amend policy 5011P, sexual harassment of district staff.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then with these retirements, do we do them all together, or are we still doing individually?
I think I've got it. I'll tell you, how about I do? You don't have to repeat it. You can just say motion as made.
Okay.
I make a motion that we retire policy 3205, 3205P1, 3205P2, 3206, 3206P, 5011, 5011P, 5012, 5012P.
Motion has been made.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to 6A, the demographer report presented by Marshall Cruz.
This was just a request from the last board meeting to provide the demographic proposal with some additional ask about details of what the deliverable would be and the cost per add-on. So this proposal includes the deliverables of maps, charts, and tables of all relevant data, 10-year student population forecast by grade level for each planning area, meaning that proposed boundary changes. Estimated enrollment for each school, student transfer analysis detailing where students reside versus where they attend school. It also includes activities, potential for some additional deliverables about scenario maps, student impact matrix, quite a detailed list of deliverables, kind of add-on costs we want to be working. Timeline. First phase of the data. Data first for
So just for clarity, are you looking for motion today from the board to, basically write the check and to engage, or, and I saw the updated report, it was much better, like what they're doing and stuff, so that was.
Yeah, we would love to, we're not using general funds.
Can you give me the price, because in the motion, I'd like to compare it to that.
If I recall,
23,950, I got it.
yeah, 23.
So I see within here, and yeah, really appreciate the more granular approach here. So yeah, seeing the price on the contract and add-ons as would be There looks like there are two virtual board presentations as part of this. Do we have an idea, are those to be presented during a board meeting? Or are they during their own study session? Like, what's the length of the? Because me personally, and I would love the feedback of the board here is, like, I would just like to make sure that if we are proceeding with this, that we would be able to get the information that we can from stuff that's in scope within the scope of work here. Just to make sure, again, that we, like, the data, at least as it's presented here, seems like it would be greatly valuable to us from my perspective. But this, again, data is data and can be ripped and torn apart in 100 different ways. So just so long as we can at least have, if we feel like we're comfortable, 5 minutes, one forecast report and one scenario presentation. And that's, Martha, why I wanted to know, like, for the study session, I feel like, not to try to squeeze all the juice out of the grape, but, like, I'd rather get like 2 hours out of them for, you know, each sort of presentation rather than like a 25-minute presentation during the board.
They're open to responding to reactions.
Director Gochner, anything from your side?
Mr. Whitler, Director Godson? He's still connected, right?
Eric, are you with us? Not quite, if you are.
He's talking to me. Gonna wait for the. No, nothing. Come on. We got like 2 more things I could do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cannot hardly hear anyone holding the computer to my ear.
Can you hear now?
If I hold the speaker to my ear.
Okay. So, yeah, we were just asking if you had any feedback or questions on the demographer report stuff.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the engaging MGT for a demographer report in the amount of $23,950.
Motion's been made. I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yep. Okay, now moving on to the consent agenda. Any discussion for consent agenda or any additions?
Additions not in the report. If they're in there, they're.
Okay. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, then the consent agenda passes by unanimous consent. That adjourns the 2/12 meeting of the Granite Falls School District Board of Directors at 7:34.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. You too.
1 minute early.
Yeah.
1 minute early.